So you saw like somebody's head got cut off?
Yeah.
What did you feel?
9% of Saudis are atheists.
And they're not in prison?
Kharasho, not kharasho.
What is it about Saudi Arabia that people hate so much?
Whatever money she makes is hers. Whatever money I make, it's the family.
So your first experience in America was awful. you nearly got kidnapped. I'm here in the studio with Zee from Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much for visiting me today. I'm actually super excited about this episode because I know that Saudi Arabia is one of those closed countries that was closed for a very long time and nobody was able to travel to it. Only opened up in 2019. Is that true?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to learn about your homeland today, your journey, firsthand, all the interesting things about Saudi Arabia that no one maybe knows. So let's start with your background first. Share a little bit about where you're from in Saudi Arabia.
So my name is Zee Alharbi and I go by Zee. I'm from Saudi Arabia. There's a province in Saudi Arabia called Al-Qasim. Mm-hmm. My city is called Buraida. In that city, there is usually, if you look from the sky, there is a ring around the city because it's a desert and a flat. So you can do whatever you want. So they decided to put a ring around the city so you can access the city from multiple ways. So
interesting.
That ring is actually 70 kilometers. That's I think around 32 miles radius. So that's inside that city is 1.5 million people.
Wow.
So yeah, I grew up in a big city. There is multiple culture, even though it's a desert. But there was the oil booming basically. So the workers from all around the world came and find either like permanently stayed in my city or they worked and like started a business, make money, and then send it over to their family. So that's what I grew up. I grew up in like a city, not a desert. Usually when you say Saudi Arabia, everyone thinks it's still camels. We still have camels. Yeah, I still have my family. My father still has his inherited camels. So
how many does he have?
So last when I visit was December 2022. He had 130 camels.
130 camels? That's crazy. Yeah.
But they it's completely different than herding cows and sheep and goats because they are massive and big, but they do not consume a lot of your time because they know what to do. They like very, very intelligent.
And they don't drink water.
Sometimes, yeah. They actually, the way they do it, they feed them less and then they feed them more water. So they can sustain not drinking water for like 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So the journey from the east of Saudi Arabia to the west of Saudi Arabia is 65 days on camels. So in the middle, they have to find somehow water to actually feed them and then water them, and then they continue. So my city has the biggest reserved underground water. So every time it rains, it comes from the mountains on the west side and to the sand in my city. So it's drained and clean and stays underneath the city.
Interesting.
Yeah. So wells are like everywhere in my city. And basically you don't have to dig more than 300 feet down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know that a camel is also a symbol of your business. But before we talk about your business here in America, let's talk about how you ended up here in America. Share about your journey of immigration.
Yes, ma'am. So I finished my associate degree in epidemiology, just basically that like a field some people do not know about. It's we identify diseases and we try to identify the source, and then we go after the source, and then we try to eliminate the source. It's not ideal all the time. We do not get our goal, but that's the idea of epidemiology. So I finished my epidemiology all the way in 2010, back in 2010, and then start working for multiple companies, like as a salesman. Just being exposed to the internet, everything is in English. I worked with the Nissan company as a salesman, and they needed English, and I did not speak any English. So I decided to just educate myself a little bit while in town, and then moved from that company to another company in the healthcare system. and everyone there spoke English. I did not speak English. So it was very, very difficult for me to communicate with them. And I told myself, if I need to advance in this field, which is a medical field, I need to actually gain more knowledge in English and educate myself how to communicate with other people. So I decided to just put my employment back home on hold and then move to United States. I did that back in 2013. And it was June 23rd of 2013 when I actually arrived in New York, JFK. And then went to school there, lived in New York, loved it, did not want to go back. So I decided to apply for universities here, and I got accepted in multiple universities in multiple different majors and stuff like that. So I finally decided to actually accept my paramedic major down in Missouri Southern State University down in Joplin.
Wow, so you're a doctor.
No. No.
You've been in the medical field. You've studied so many different versions of all this science and medicine.
That's correct. I'm very interested. That goes all the way back to when I was 8 years old, when we have a family medicine assigned to you by the government back home. I think it's very similar to Russia as well.
We have free healthcare there most of the time, but it sucks.
Thankfully, ours didn't. But they actually assigned the doctor-physician to your family, and then that's your family. So basically, that person knows everyone in the family, and including if your mom gave birth to someone else, that doctor will actually be notified and saying, "Hey, that family increased to this number." So when I was 8 years old, I got sick, and he asked me, "What do you want to, they just ease the whole process for you. They just
talk to you.
Yeah, just a conversation to make you relax a little bit." So he asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be like you." And he said, "No, do not be like me. Be better than me." So he kind of just pushed me a little bit to find something better than myself. And then I studied epidemiology, and I like that field, but it does not allow me to expand much. That's why I chose to become a paramedic, and that journey started in 2015. I gained my license and graduated in 2019.
Wow. Yeah. What a crazy, interesting journey. So you've been in America for 10 years, a little over 10 years now,
yes.
11.
Yeah, over a decade, yeah.
So, Kane, do you remember your first couple of days in America? What did you think of it? What did you see when you just landed in America?
So, it's always fascinating when you're never seen New York before. And then once you arrive, it's oh, wow, this is New York. And in every movie, there's this story of everyone is trying to destroy New York. But once I arrived, and I said, I want to protect this because this is so beautiful. So the only thing is, when I arrived, they start asking me questions in English. I did not understand anything. So I kept typing everything and translating and showing them, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I wanna go. A funny story. So have you been to JFK?
No.
It's a small one, but it's very, very crowded. So when you go out, and 2013 was more chaotic than now. Now it's a little bit organized, but 2013, there is when you going out, there is a line for taxis, yellow cabs, and then next to it was Uber and individuals, people who actually try to get you to go with them. So I was walking out, and someone approached me and said, "Salam alaikum," which is how we greet each other as Muslims. We say salam alaikum. So I was like, "Wa alaikum salam." Oh, he speaks. He understand. He saw my face and he said, "Oh, I know this guy." So he asked me where you want to go, and I showed him the address, and he said, "Yeah, don't worry, let's go." So we start walking toward inside the airport, not outside the airport. So while we going that way, someone came out of the crowd and started talking to him, and the both of them start walking, and he just kept looking back and making sure that I actually following them. So that was my first hint. And then we went to the garage where the parking spot. And then when we went up, opened, and it was like an empty spot with like a few cars over there. So they walked out, and I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "My car is here." And then I said, "I'm not going." And he started like being aggressive and coming towards me. And then I saw two cops coming out of the stairs, and he just turned around and started walking. So I immediately pressed the button to go downstairs. So I did not, yeah.
What a horrible first experience in America.
Yeah, but it's very, very common. And then after that, I actually learned, I lived with a family, and I told them the story, and they said, oh, they try to get you to go with them so you can pay like $500 and $600 rather than paying like $80 or $100 downstairs. So that what happened. I went downstairs, I went to the yellow cab, and he said, I have no cabs, but this guy can take you. And I said, how much? And he said, $80. And I said, okay. So I went from JFK in Jamaica all the way to the Bronx, where my friends lived there. And I just went through the city, and it was beautiful.
So your first experience in America was awful. you nearly got kidnapped, it sounds like, in New York, but I'm glad you made it safely. How did you end up in Missouri?
So goes back to I graduated and I have a degree from back home, but I decided to pursue something different. I started my English, and throughout the school, they were trying to make me like figure out what I want to do next. So it was just an English school. They were trying to teach me how to speak, but meanwhile they get interested in like, hey, we want to know what you want to do next, so we can help you with it. So I explained to them, this is what I want to do, and here's how I'm going to do it and everything. And they said, start applying now, because it takes like 2-3 months until you get everything. And I start applying and get accepted in A&M University in Texas for pre-med. And then I get accepted in Tennessee University in Jacksonville, I think, for biomedical engineering. And then I get accepted in Missouri Southern for my paramedic program. So what they give you a bachelor degree for on health science, paramedic emphasize. So they just focus on making sure that you know all the knowledge about paramedicine, basically. So I got accepted in all these, and I did not expect all these good colleges actually to like accept me. So I took a vacation, went back home, and I told my mom, here's my choices, and here's what I'm going to do. And she just asked me, like, she never went to school, but I trust her wise. I trust her wisdom. So I told her the pre-med is going to be like at least 10 years until I finish everything. And then she said, that is too long, so I don't want you to stay in the United States that long. And I said, okay. The other one, it's going to be 5 years, but the issue is it has physics, math, and biochemistry, and all that jazz. And she said, and I quote, you're not good at math, so we are not going to take that. So she decided on paramedicine because it's only 4 years, and then I can graduate and go back. Little she knew, I met a girl, fell in love, we get married, I get my green card, and then start working as a medic. And I've been a medic for the past 5-6 years.
And you met a lady that is from Missouri, I'm assuming.
No, she's Hawaiian.
She's Hawaiian.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So you spoke a little bit about your family back home. How did they react to your decision that you want to study in America first, that you want to came here, and then that you staying here?
So my mom's still against it, 100%, and she wants me back. The only thing is she understands that I have a job. I'm working really hard on myself, and I started my business. My business is doing well. Like, I'm building something for myself. So the last conversation between me and her was, if you feel comfortable coming back and starting over again, then do that. If you do not feel comfortable coming back and starting over, then you stay there, but you promise me you will come back one day. She's I believe she's 62 years old now, so she's as any mom, she's like worried about herself and her kids. But I met my wife in school, actually, in Missouri, but she was born and raised in Hawaii. Yeah.
And I also saw a travel show about Saudi Arabia yesterday and interviewed a lady from Palestine last week. And she told me that she's not allowed to marry a guy who's not a Muslim. Otherwise, the guy who's American has to accept Muslim religion.
Yes.
So how did it work out between you and your wife?
So that is not a culture. That is a religious
Yes.
requirement. Yeah. So the requirement is the man can marry either a Christian or a Jew wife. He can have wife of these two religions, but a Jew or a Christian cannot marry a Muslim woman.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So in Islam, it's the husband who does every single thing. There is, like, for example, my wife works, but I pay for the bills and everything, even including her student loan. I still pay it. Whatever money she makes is hers. Whatever money I make, it's the family.
It's the same thing the girl from Palestine told me. She
Yes.
said, every time I go back home, my brother's money, my father's money is my money, and my money is my money.
Yep. Every single dollar I make here, my family has access to it. My mom has a credit card with a $10,000 limit, and she can spend it, and I will never ask a question.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're a paramedic. Do you still work as a paramedic? I'm trying to get to the point where you decided to open your restaurant or your food truck.
Yeah, so that goes back when I graduated and started having a job. So I initially worked for a county EMS. It's about an hour, 20 minutes from here, and it did not give me the experience that I was looking for. So I applied for one of the companies here in Springfield, and I got accepted. And I spent 4 years with that company. And last position I hold with that company was a supervisor, field supervisor. And then during that time, I just started looking at the time that I have in hand, and decided to do something with the money that we get from COVID, because we worked very, very hard during that time, and the company decided to actually pay us extra because we are helping the community. So I took that money, and everyone who tried my food actually liked it. So it came the idea that let me actually open at least a food truck and see what's going on. So when I got a box truck a few years ago, and then during 2020 and 21, I started building it myself. So I get it all clean, and then start building everything inside. And then 2023, in February 22nd, when we decided to actually open up, we opened the food truck in East Battlefield, the old Hobby Lobby parking lot. We get featured in every business magazine in the town. We get interview with Fox 49, and we get invited to like multiple setting of like, hey, show off your business. So 2023 June, we decided to go to the event that happens in the downtown, the Taste of Somo.
Oh, okay.
So we went to 2023, and we won the best entree in 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just last year.
Yep. So that kind of gave me a kick that, hey, you need to focus on this, because this could be something. So we started that, and there was only one place where they have Middle Eastern food, but now we actually have 3 more places. Yep.
You inspired someone else.
Yep.
And what is it called?
It's called Arabiana.
Arabiana, yes, and you can check it out here in Springfield. Is there a specific location that you guys are always located on? You also mentioned that you guys are closing for a season.
Yes, we closed for the season. We used to be at the parking lot for Ace Hardware on South Campbell, but we closed for the season this time, and there is a possibility we coming back to the same spot in March.
In March.
Yeah.
And it is authentic, traditional Middle Eastern food from Saudi Arabia, right? So like
Yes.
all the dishes that you guys eat there.
Yes, but I have my twist on it, because the idea is if you bring the same flavor and the same everything, it may not be accepted. So
It has to be Americanized a little.
Yes, yes. So it has to have a American twist to it to get your brain is gonna receive everything as this is from here, not from over there, which is like people like to eat local and do everything local. So I added my twist to every dish that we have, and they actually loved it.
Do you cook traditional, authentic Saudi Arabian food at home for your wife?
Yes.
Not Americanized, or still Americanized because she's American?
So she's Hawaiian, so her flavor is completely different than the stuff that we like. When you say American, it's American. But every now and then we will have a steak that's 100% American. We have Thanksgiving in my house, so we cook a whole turkey. So,
interesting. Do you still follow the same traditions that you did while in Saudi Arabia? And by that, I mean, you guys have very strong religious beliefs, and you have pray time.
Yes.
In Saudi Arabia, where the world stops and you pray 4 times a day or 5 times a day. Yes. Yeah. So do you still do that here in America?
Yes, ma'am.
You do?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And,
does your wife follow any of it?
Yeah.
So did she accepted the Muslim religion too?
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. Yeah. How was it like for her, and for you?
I mean, I'm happy she chose that, but the whole process is her finding the path to believe in something. So she praised as a Christian, but in the middle of it, she decided not to believe in anything. And we were still together when she decided to, like, I'm not believing in anything. So she came to me and she said, explain Islam to me. And I said, it works better if you go and gain the knowledge and then come question my knowledge as well. So rather than me saying, hey, here is how we do it, I want you to come back and you said, why did you do this? And here is my own thought that I actually developed through research. And I want you to either confirm or deny these thoughts. So she went and she spent probably 3 years actually researching, and 3 years researching and doing her research to find out if this is the thing that she want to follow or not. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound creepy, but do you guys have any children?
We have 3.
3 kids?
Yeah, a boy, a girl, a boy.
Okay. Do you try to pass along on your kids your traditions and your language, or do you just let them be American?
So peer influence is very strong. So I do not, my son is 5 years old and he is in daycare. So every time he comes back home, he has a new word. Like his new word right now is bro.
Bro.
Yeah. So I do not speak in that like that language. So he calls me buddy. He calls me bro. We do not speak that language. So I cannot like protect him from that type of thing.
From America.
I cannot protect him from the language that he actually receives and behavior he receives from his peers, but I can actually influence him by showing him how I do things. So every time he says bro, I like explain to him this is not a way you can speak to your father. The better way is to address me as Baba, or you can address me as father, because yes, you're my son, I love you to death, but there is a limit of respect that you have to show. As I respect you, you're still 5 years old, but I still respect your responsible personality, to the point that I allow you to call me buddy or bro, but we have to have a limit when we can say that. So he understands it, but if he's going upstairs and I'm down in the basement, he look at me and I say, bye, bro. He just, it's a 5 years old kid. You cannot control him. So
what about traditional clothing? Do you wear, I don't know what it's called, the kafaya?
So
the scarf?
So before you do anything, you're going to put, like for men, they're going to put something round, they call dagiya. And then they put the shimar, which is a triangle cloth. And then after that, you're going to put something round, and it's called igal, which is a black round. That is to actually keep it on your head, keep the shimar on your head. So when the wind is blowing, it's not going to fly away. And then the thingy, the shimar, which is a triangle in shape, that is actually to protect your neck, ears, and the bottom of your face from the sun and the sand.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have it here in Springfield? Do you wear it on occasions?
Yeah. Every holiday that we have here, I wear it.
Every holiday, American holiday or
no,
your holiday?
Islamic holiday.
Islamic holidays.
Yeah, which is 2. to Islamic holidays.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about American Dream now. This is the whole point of this podcast. I learned a little bit about your journey now. You seem to be a very established here in America. You have a wife, a family. What do you think of American Dream? Does it exist here in America?
It does and it doesn't. It does if you're willing to actually look for it and find it. I said I'm a paramedic, and I actually teach EMS as well. So every time I'm teaching someone something, I tell them, if you do not know what you're looking for, you will never find it. So when I first came here, I did not know what I want to do. But throughout the research that I've done on like future opportunities, and including inside myself, like what I want to do, I found out that I want to be in the medical field. And the best way to do it for me back then is going through the paramedic program. So I established myself in the field, and I'm happy where I'm at. So my American dream was come here, learn the language, find something to do, and then be the best to do it, basically. So that's my American dream. The other side of it doesn't exist if you just want to rely on like whatever destiny threw at you. That's completely up to you. But like I learned throughout the years that I lived here that if you want something, you will get it. And on top of that, as a $1, it's easy to gain in the United States. It's way easier than anything. Like if I'm upset with my company, I can quit and go to another company. In in other parts of the world, they do not have that privilege to just decide that, hey, I don't want to work for this. For example, in EMS here, you have at least 13 companies that will hire you. Yeah. So,
wow. So American Dream exists for hard workers.
Yes.
Okay. Have you achieved it? Do you still have an American Dream to work towards?
I think I'm living it.
You're living it.
Yeah. It's you can call the dream whatever you want to call it, but I think I'm living it because I have everything that I dreamt about, and I'm still living it.
What has been your proudest moment?
When my son called me, "You're so the best."
Aww. Which son?
The first one.
The first one?
The second son is only 8 months. Yeah.
So he can't say that now. No. So it's the oldest one.
Yeah, he can yell at you. Yeah, but he cannot.
Have you encountered any stereotypes towards your way?
Yeah.
When you introduce yourself to people and you say you're from Saudi Arabia, what people say to you?
I usually play a trick with them.
What do you do?
It's a game. So I told them you have 3 chances and you have 3 guesses. And these three hints actually, and 3 guesses. And you decided if you want to guess the first, or I can give you the hint first when they ask me where you're from. And then sometimes they just like take the first guess. And I said no. And they said, okay, give me the first hint. And then I would give them. And I used that with my patients because we taught that you need to actually create a rapport with your patient when they actually trust you and know who you are. So usually when we come inside the house, we say, hey, my name is Zee. I'm a paramedic with this company, and this is my friend. What's going on today? So we trying to be a friend with this patient before we discuss any medical need.
Okay.
So, yeah. So when we open that door for them to feel comfortable with us, they actually going to tell us the truth and not hide what's going on. Because some people are ashamed of getting sick.
Yeah.
There's no shame, but some people getting...
or just uncomfortable because you're, in medical field, you're a doctor. Some people get really uncomfortable in dentist office too for the same reason.
Yep.
They're just scared of dentists for no reason, like my mom is. I know for sure. Even though she is actually a nurse too.
Yeah.
And she used to work as a paramedic in Russia too. So,
nice.
But she's scared. She's terrified of dentists. Like she gets like nauseous and like lightheaded.
Yeah.
When she goes to a dentist. So some people do that.
Probably because she knows better than anyone.
Probably.
Yeah. So if you open up with your patient, they're gonna tell you everything. So rather than like you've been living here for a long time to understand that in the Middle East has a negative reputation, especially in this part of of the country.
Well, yeah.
So if I tell them what's going on, or I tell them, hey, I'm from Saudi Arabia, they will actually back up, and I'm not going to be doing my job.
So they will like close and they don't want to like communicate with you, or just because you're from Saudi Arabia?
Exactly. Because
what is it about Saudi Arabia that people hate so much?
It's the whole stereotype of terrorism and all that thing.
Ah, okay, that's right.
Yes. So the thing is, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be your friend. I'm trying to help you to heal if I'm capable of doing something right away, or get you to the right part of the hospital. So I just want to be your friend for 15 minutes until we get to the hospital. And then after that, you can do whatever you want. So I do not tell them immediately. I start to like this trick, and usually it takes them like 15 minutes to actually answer me correctly or wrongly. And then once that 15 minutes is done, we are at the hospital, and I said, probably next time. So my belief is I'm here to actually help you get what you need. So my religion, my belief, my nationality, my background is not going to play any role here except my background in medicine. If I'm the best for you right here or not. So I've faced it here a lot.
You know what's crazy? I experienced similar approach too, and I'm from Russia. There is no like terroristic stereotypes about Russia. But when I say I'm from Russia, especially nowadays, people have two emotions. Oh, do you drink vodka all the time? Or, oh, what do you think about the war in Ukraine? That's just every time. So I probably should take your advice and maybe do the same game and be like, can you guess where I'm from? And just say that from now on, because I'm also kind of done with this. But before we step into a break, what advice would you give to other people from Saudi Arabia in terms of coming to America? I also wanted to mention that I know that there is a King's program that you can take to go to America for a touristic visa or work visa or something like that.
It's a scholarship from the government, full ride scholarship from the government. So you mentioned that Saudi Arabia is closed. It's not anymore.
Not anymore, no.
Yeah, it's not anymore. Women started driving back in 2017. The Constitution of Saudi Arabia, it gives the woman, allow them to actually drive. It does not go against it. Including in top of that, like I'm from a people who calls Bedouin. We are nomads. We move from a country to another country, but not anymore. We have cities. We establish ourselves, and we have fresh water, so we do not go anywhere. But my people back in 25 years, 30 years ago, the women were driving. They drive a water tanks inside the desert. So it's a culture thing that prevented women from driving until 2017, when the government said, okay, we need to make a change, and we need everyone to like understand this is legally allowed, and it's just a culture.
And it was the new prince, right? The new prince that started establishing all of these big things, like concerts are now allowed in Saudi Arabia too. It was not allowed before. They
were allowed. The only thing is it was allowed to a certain performers in certain areas. But now it's like there's nothing against it in the constitution of the country, so we're going to allow it everywhere. If you want to make one, just make sure that you actually make it legally, and then we can give you the license. So, yeah.
And I also know that a lot of people from Saudi Arabia did study in America, and then they came back.
Yep.
Why is that?
Because this country is very advanced in every single aspect of science.
Okay.
So if you look at the population of Saudi Arabia, 65% of them is between 25 and 35. So that's a huge power that you can actually use to improve the country. So when his father actually came to, he became a king, and he became the crown prince. He looked at it and he said, we have a huge power that at hand that we can use. So what we're going to do is we can actually send them, gain the experience, gain the knowledge, gain the education, and then come back to improve the country, which is very, very crazy, because if you apply for a passport here in the United States, it takes 6 weeks. In Saudi Arabia, it takes 24 hours.
Wow.
So I literally applied for my son's passport while I was in bed, and the next day I just went and grabbed it.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, Saudi Arabia actually has money too.
Yeah.
So a lot of people from there can actually afford to go to America too. So that's why probably it's super popular there. And that's why they're doing it a lot.
The education is free. And the government...
Education is free?
Health is free, education is free. Yes.
Wow.
And then if you want to go study abroad, the government asks you, like, there is some requirements that you have to achieve before you get accepted in the program. And once you get accepted in the program, you have to maintain a certain grade so you can actually stay in the scholarship. If you get any lower, then they're going to kick you, basically, out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
But the stereotype that all Saudi Arabians have money, it's not correct.
No?
No. We have middle class and we have poor and we have like high.
But not everyone is
people.
rich.
No, not everyone. No.
Because that's what I thought last night when I was watching the show.
Hey, I'm here.
So a quick message to people from Saudi Arabia in terms of moving to America. Should they do it? Should they not?
It's on personal basis. If you think this is something that you want to do for the rest of your life, it's a beautiful country. There is more chances than anywhere in the world. And you get 4 seasons rather than 2 seasons back home. And there is endless opportunities. Like as of now, I work for 3 different companies. One of them is a deployment company. So if I get deployed, I will be actually going to like Florida for 2 weeks, or Las Vegas for 90 days, or Alaska for a month. And the pay is crazy. But that chance is not available anywhere in the world. Like even in Europe, if you go to Europe, there's not such a thing. It's only in the United States.
Welcome back. You're listening and watching the American Dream podcast. I'm here with Zee from Saudi Arabia, and we're about to take an imaginary trip back home. You said the last time you were home was 2022?
Yes, December.
And the time before that was when you immigrated?
Because of COVID, I spent 3 years here. I couldn't go back, actually.
Okay.
So I spent the 3 years, but I used to, when I lived in New York, I used to actually go there every 6 months. Because it's easier flying from New York to anywhere in the world than the Midwest. Because if you fly from here, you have to fly to a different state, and then from a different state to a different airport.
How long is the flight?
From New York, it's 12 hours going from here to Saudi Arabia, but it is 14 hours or 13 hours and some minutes from Saudi Arabia to here, because you're flying against the winds and all that jazz. I
hate flying so much. So you said 14 hours and I immediately was like, oh, that sounds awful. I remembered that like a part of my butt cheek went numb after I flew from Russia to America because I was sitting for 10 hours.
Here's my question. Do you fly from San Francisco to Russia?
No, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. to Moscow, and then Moscow to Omsk, which is where I'm from. But first it's Kansas City to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So it's like a 24-hour traveling process, and then the time changes too, which I'm sure in Saudi Arabia it's the opposite time of day as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the traveling process in general. For people from America who want to visit Saudi Arabia and see all the interesting thing that it has to offer, when is the best time of year to go there, and how expensive is it to travel to Saudi Arabia?
It's not very expensive. Depends where you fly from. If you fly from Kansas City, it's going to be, for one person, it's going to be like $1,200. But you're flying from Kansas City to JFK or to DC, Dulles, and then to Riyadh, which is Saudi Arabia, the capital of Saudi Arabia. Or you can fly to Jeddah, which is going to be like a cheaper by $100 or something. But if you go to Dallas, from Dallas go to Qatar, Doha, and then from Doha to Saudi Arabia, that's going to be like $700, $800. So the flight is not expensive when you're looking at it from a perspective of spending 12 hours in the air. And once you get to Saudi Arabia, as an American citizen, you need a visa to actually enter the country. Either you can apply before you fly or once you arrive. And that's going to cost you about $125.
And is that true that while you're flying to Saudi Arabia, there is pray time and you can see it on the screen in the plane too?
So if you fly in with the Saudi Airlines, yes, they will announce that it's actually time. But if you fly in with a different airlines, even from the Gulf countries like Kuwait, Emirates, Qatar, they do not show you anything. The only thing they show you is where to face, because Muslims have to face Kaaba, which is a black circle, black square actually, black square in Saudi Arabia inside the city called Mecca. So the phrase Mecca of all, that comes from the city Mecca, because all Muslim actually face Mecca. So I'm here in the United States. In about 2 hours, I will do my second prayer of the day, and I will be facing that box in Mecca. Not specifically.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's called Kaaba in Mecca in Saudi Arabia. That's where we face every time we go. So in Russia, you face Saudi Arabia. In the United States, you face Saudi Arabia when you do your prayers.
I never knew that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And for a tourist who is probably going to experience a culture shock when he will see that in a plane, what to expect and to be prepared for in Saudi Arabia? Because it's highly religious country. Pray time, stores closing, restaurants closing. How to maintain all of that as a tourist? How to act while there is pray time?
Yeah, so I'll update you on that, because not all stores actually close. The Constitution says if you want to close and go to the prayer, then you can go. If not, then you can stay open. So since they started trying to attract people to come and visit Saudi Arabia, they changed some of the laws. So you can go there and see what's going on. So in big cities, most of them do not close. In religious cities, which is Mecca and Medina, the two biggest cities, they actually close because they prefer to go. The only thing is, if you go there, prepare for yourself to be invited into someone's house without knowing who you are. So if you look it up, it's a lot of Americans go there and they said, well, I did not spend for a whole month, I did not spend any money, because every time I ask someone where is the closest restaurant, they told me, hey, just come to my house, I'll feed you. It's a very, very inviting culture from everywhere. So they do not treat you as you're a stranger or anything. If you ask them, I need to get a ride somewhere, they do not ask you to call Uber or Lyft. They actually offer you to take you to whatever you need themselves. And then in the process, they said, hey, before we go to your destination, what about we go grab a cup of coffee? Yeah.
So another thing is cameras. If a tourist is there and he wants to take pictures and videos, and also in our digital, years, bloggers and stuff like that, they come there with cameras. Do they need to have a specific document that states that they are allowed to film?
No, not in public. But if you go in to take a picture inside the government buildings, again, it's a kingdom, so they protect their assets. If you go inside the public places, that's okay. But if you go into the government buildings, that's not acceptable. There's a lot of sensitive things in government buildings. Yeah.
So where in Saudi Arabia should a tourist land first thing?
So Jeddah is a big city, and it's beautiful, and it's actually our New York style of a city, because it's a melting pot. There is people who immigrated from Russia 50 years ago, and they established themselves, and then now they speak Arabic. They do not speak Russian at all. Yeah. And we have Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, all the Stan countries. We have a lot of people from there. We have actually a lot of people from Africa who migrated to that city, and now they are all part of the culture fabric of that city. So Jeddah is a big city, and it's a beautiful city also. People are very, very open to everything, and you walk around the city like you're walking around more like Houston than anything. It's a on the beach kind of a city. Yeah.
Do people speak English in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, they speak English, they speak Russian, they speak Korean.
They speak Russian?
Yeah.
Do you speak Russian?
Not much. I still have my friends, though. I still have my Russian friends, and I still have my Ukrainian friends.
Wow. Yeah. That's so random. Russian people are just everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And the language that you guys speak in Saudi Arabia is?
Arabic. Yeah.
Can you teach me a little bit of Arabic language?
What do you want to learn?
Hi. Salam alaikum.
That is peace be upon you. so that when Muslim meet another Muslim, they see it.
Ah, okay.
But you can't say it. It's a beautiful phrase. But if you want to say hi, it's marhaba.
Marhaba.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
You got it.
What about help?
Musaada.
Musaada?
Yep.
Musaada.
Yeah, you got it. Do you speak Arabic?
I do now. Interesting. So what about must-visit attractions and landmarks in Saudi Arabia? If they land in, you said Jeddah?
Jeddah.
Jeddah.
Yeah.
Jeddah. They land in Jeddah. Where in Jeddah should they go and see beautiful places?
So it's a strip city, like a lengthy city. So there is, in each part of the city, there is something to attract tourists. One of the places that I love myself is Old Jeddah. You go there and you see actually a like 300 years old houses, and the culture and the food and everything. It will show you, it's your window to the Old Jeddah.
Wow.
But a funny conversation about languages. I was in Rogersville, down the road, and there is a huge population, people who speak Russian and Ukrainian.
Of course.
And if you do not know the two languages, you cannot distinguish which is which. So I got this guy who was having a stroke, and he's very young. He was like 37, 38 years old. So I started asking a question, and one guy started talking to me. And then I said, he doesn't speak English. And he said, no. And I said, okay, regardless of everything, we need to get to the hospital because obviously he's having a stroke. So we drove. And en route, we were, I was trying to communicate with him, but he's not.
Not responsive.
Yeah. So he was awake.
Well, not like he's, I said it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Not responsive because of the language barrier.
Yes. So I started asking him a question. He was not giving me the answers because he did not understand English. So I looked at him and I said, this, хорошо, not хорошо.
Хорошо, not хорошо.
and he smiled with half face, smiled. And he said, not хорошо. And I said, okay. Yeah, плохо. Yeah. So we drove and we got there and dropped everything. But I get him to, like, I know he was having a massive stroke, but I get him to actually smile even through the whole thing. And you understand the culture is very, very strong. Men are not going to show symptoms. Even if they're dying, they're not going to show symptoms. But he smiled. And that was my proud moment of, like, knowing a second language or a third language. Yeah.
So people in Saudi Arabia are very, very friendly. You can go anywhere and you'll be invited to their house. And what dishes are you most likely to try in Saudi Arabia?
So the national dish that you can find everywhere is called kabsa.
Kabsa.
Yes, which means meat over rice. So either a camel meat, if you never tried it, a cow meat, sheep
Camel
meat.
meat?
Yes.
What does that taste like?
It's very delicious, but it's a little bit dry.
Do you serve it here in Springfield?
We couldn't find anyone who sells
camel meat. You sure it's not on Amazon?
No. It would be very expensive if it's on Amazon. Yeah, the process of bringing camels to the United States is very, very lengthy. There is a study that on autism that says that camel milk actually very beneficial for people with autism. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So what was the name of that dish again?
Kabsa.
Kabsa. Yeah. What else to try in Saudi Arabia?
So kabsa is one absolute thing that you need to try. And then the sweets. We have a ton of sweets. We have something called kunafa, which is everywhere in the Middle East, but in Saudi Arabia is very, very popular. One of the things you've probably seen it, it's they call it Dubai kunafa.
Yes, I saw it. It's viral on TikTok, of course.
Yep. So before it got popular, we actually have it back home. And we have one is very, very smooth. And the other one is very crunchy as you've seen it. Yeah. But I mean, TikTok is getting everything popular.
Yes, of course. What is the best time of year to go to Saudi Arabia? You said there's only 2 seasons.
Yeah. If you want to go to the desert side, winter is the best because we go out during winter. During summer, we do not leave our houses until the sunset.
Oh, why?
Because we are nectar. We love the nights, not the days.
Oh,
because
okay.
Yeah. I lived in a city in Saudi Arabia where the temperature during summer goes up to 135, 60 degrees Celsius.
Oh my God.
Yes. So that's the north part of the desert. My city would go up to like 50 Celsius, which is 125 degrees. But it goes down to like 23, 27 during the night because it's a desert. So it doesn't hold the heat that much. It disperses everything. But if you want to go to the desert, winter and fall are your best choices. If you want to go to the mountains, which is south and west, then spring is your best days.
Wow. What are some interesting traditions to witness while in Saudi Arabia?
You can find it everywhere, but it's an Islamic tradition that we welcome everyone. So if you go to one of the mosques,
you are allowed to go in them, even
Yes.
if you're a tourist and you don't follow the Muslim religion?
Yes, you're allowed, yeah. So if you go inside and you look at them, you will see every different face. You're not gonna look. You're not gonna 100%. They all look like me. It's like from everywhere because it's they believe it's the religion needs to welcome everyone from everywhere. So that one part of the religion that implemented in our culture. So if you go out, you will see multiple different people from different color and different shape of the world hanging together. Yeah.
Is that true that executions are still a thing in Saudi Arabia?
Death penalty, yeah.
Death penalty.
Yeah.
That you can witness that just outside walking down every Monday, I think.
No.
And that there is like this, drain in the middle of the street where they cut heads. No? So that's a lie?
No. So if they want to do that, they will announce they are going to do it. And there is a specific place in each province to do it. And that is not a very common practice. The common practice is they're going to put them through everything in the court to prove they're innocent or not innocent. Some of these people who are beheaded in front of other people spent 7 years in prison fighting for them to see if they are guilty or not guilty. So it's not a, hey, we don't like you, let's go do it kind of thing. So it takes a lengthy process to do it. But in a huge discussion here and over there is the death penalty. And some people look at it as inhumane to do it. And rather than doing that, you should send them actually for life in prison. But the thing is, if people look at the thing they commit and they said, oh, I'm not going to lose my life. I'm just going to go into prison. I'm going to be fed, clothed, and I'm going to be saved in that prison. So I'll do it. But if they look at it and see, if I do this, I'm going to be hidden in public and everyone is going to know my name and remember who I am by that felony that I've done, then that is going to prevent people from saying, hey, this is an easy thing that we can do. So that is one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is this is inhumane and we need to stop it. So,
have you ever witnessed a death penalty yourself?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
So you saw like somebody's head got cut off?
Yeah.
What did you feel?
I mean, it was. I work with dead people.
Well, yes,
all the
of
time.
course. I know. See, to
Yeah,
me, it would be
but-
like harming to my memory.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they say why they decided to do that, and most of the people who get beheaded are like very, very dangerous to the community. So,
Well, yes, of course. Yeah. It's not like I'm asking you if you felt bad for the person, because I wouldn't if I knew that, let's say, like he killed, 10 people or something like that. Or I also know that religious purposes and being atheist in Saudi Arabia is also like illegal and you can go to prison for that. Is that true?
that's funny. 9% of Saudis, and there is a study about it, are atheists.
And they're not in prison? What?
They're not
So
in
everything
prison.
I watched yesterday and prepared for this interview is not true.
So here's the thing. I'm not proud to say this, but I've been atheist for 7 years and then came back to Islam. The only reason is when I grew up, I start thinking about everything that happened in my life and saying I'm not just gonna follow a religion just because my mom and my dad told me this is the best thing for you. It's like as a rebel.
Of course.
I just wanted to do something different. And then for 7 years, I did not do anything. So after that, I started realizing when my brain actually went down a little bit from that high, I started realizing that we are here for a purpose. Some people believe that you can be a human and serve a human race, and then you die, and then you go to nothing. Other people believe that you're actually here on a purpose, and you have a message to deliver, and then you deliver, and then you die, and then you go to heaven. So in my search in every religion, I concluded that actually Islam is the only thing that suits my way and style of living. The reason being is every time I argue with Islam, I find a reasonable logic answer. Why you do this? Because of this. And then it's like, I cannot argue anymore because this is logic and reasonable. So, yeah.
So as we mentioned earlier, Saudi Arabia is a new country for tourism. It just opened up in 2019. What are some interesting festivals, or maybe that's not the right word for it, but maybe events to witness?
So in the capital, Riyadh, there is a Riyadh season. So they built a whole new city that called Boulevard City. And you can look at Boulevard World, and they have, what they done is they brought some of the culture from Russia and they put it in one place. So you have the Borscht.
Borscht?
Yeah, Borscht.
What? That's so random.
And then you have the Espanol from Spain having something, and then you have the Mexican having something, and then you have like other different countries and other culture, the Chinese culture. So they built the whole city to like attract people to it, but you can actually go there and try the whole world of culture, food, and everything.
So it's like a culture fest in Springfield.
Exactly. And that actually runs, I think 3 months during winter. So Riyadh by itself is a big city, and this city is next to Riyadh. It's like one part of the Riyadh. And then if you want to go to the desert, there is my city called Buraida. Or you can go also in Riyadh, something called Thamam, which is another part of the desert. These two things most people go to. But if you have extra money and you want to see something different, then you should go to Al-Ula, which is Al-Ola in Saudi Arabia. So you know Al-Batra in Jordan?
Oh, yes, of course.
So the same style of culture in Al-Batra, the people who lived in Al-Batra, they lived in Al-Ola as well. So if you go there, you will see the houses and you see the mountain, how they crave the mountain to build them houses and small rooms inside the mountains. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Another question I had for you is how, if a woman by herself goes to Saudi Arabia, she just wants to experience everything by herself alone, how should she dress? Because I know that hijabs are a thing in Saudi Arabia, that you're supposed to cover every like inch of your body and only leave like the eyes on. But some women are more progressive and they put like little designs on their hijabs now, and they like open their face, actually just cover their head. Yeah. So if a tourist woman, let's say I go to Saudi Arabia, what to not wear?
It's the same thing here in the United States. If you go into someone's house, you're going to dress appropriately, right?
See, appropriate is different for different people.
Yes.
Some people go to the theater in like, baseball hats and dirty clothes. To me, it's inappropriate. I go in like beautiful dress and, heels. Yes. But some people say that that's appropriate. So how should they dress?
So the appropriate for the public is to be decent, basically. So men and women in Saudi Arabia, they look decent. If you can cover yourself, you want to cover yourself, you can. If you want to wear something different, you can wear. One of the arguments, and you can find it on the actually YouTube, one guy said that before he came to Saudi Arabia, they told him, every one of his friends told him, make sure that you do not wear shorts in public. I wear shorts in public when I go to Saudi Arabia. I have my shorts here, but I wear them in public because it's too hot outside. But if I'm going to, someone invited me, I'm going to dress appropriately and I'm going to dress in our costume and go see them. If I'm going out in public with my wife, I will dress something nice, and she will dress as well, like appropriate to the occasion, basically. So I'm funny you said that, because before I came here, I was scrolling TikTok and I saw two girls in Al-Ola. They wearing shorts and what do you call it, crop top?
Crop top?
Yeah, and a guy was like filming them for their sake, and filming them, and they posted that. So no one told them, hey, you need to cover. So
no one went to prison.
No one went to prison. especially tourists. they will not jail you. But the thing is, if you disrespect anything, then you expect to be punished, basically.
Of course.
So if you go to the mosque and throw something inside it, they will actually jail you for that because this is disrespectful. But if you're in public and doing public things and like being mindful of the people around you, that's not an issue.
How safe is Saudi Arabia?
For a woman, it's very safe.
How is that?
So in our culture, again, it's religiously and in our culture, a man has to protect a woman. And we have a ton of men on the street. If your car breaks down, they will actually fix it for you. If you need help, they will do it for you while you sit in your car. They're not going to touch you. They're not going to talk to you. So a woman traveling in Saudi Arabia, they look at it as, I need to actually protect this person because this person is a guest in my town, a guest in my country. So it goes back to the religion that they actually think everyone who comes to visit them is a guest of God, and they have to protect them. Yeah.
Before we step into another break, what is something that everyone should bring with them after their traveling is over in Saudi Arabia, like a souvenir?
There is something called finjal, which is a small cup that you can drink coffee in. So that is by far everyone buys them and bring them when they visit Saudi Arabia. But if you like daggers, in the south side they have a dagger, and that could be expensive, like $400. But it's a beautiful war dagger.
Welcome back to the American Dream Podcast. I'm here in the studio with Zee from Saudi Arabia, and this half of the podcast is usually dedicated to wonderful items that remind my guests of their home the most. So, Zee, share a little bit about the items. You just sent me a bunch of pictures, and I don't know what I'm looking at. So, what is the first item you want to discuss?
So the picture with the fire and how we actually sit, this is the desert, how it looks like, the sand in the desert, how it look like after rain. And it has a distinct smell that actually brings me happiness. So if it rains here after like 30 days of no rain, there is a specific smell that it comes in the air. So that reminds me of home every time it happens. Because usually we only have about like 4 months of rain during the year. So most of the time it's actually dry. And then once it rains, it actually gets all that smell in the air.
And earlier I said that it looks like Mongolia a little bit because of the beautiful sand fields.
Yeah.
So what are all of these items? Is it just the field that reminds you of home, or the items included?
So I actually have some of the items in my house right now. So that is for tea. Basically, that's how we brew teas. And then this is for coffee because we drink a ton of coffee during the day. We invented the coffee, so we should drink it more.
Oh, that's right.
So we drink a coffee in this one, and usually we have like 4 or 5 people. This one contain dates, like the fruits dates.
I know.
Yeah. So and on that topic, my city has the biggest date trees, and if you look at it from aerial view, you will see circles.
Wow.
Yeah, of the palm trees. Yeah.
In the same show, which probably is going to be a lie again, they were boiling coffee, and it has a different color to it.
Yes.
It's the same color of your shirt.
That's correct.
So why? Why is it so different?
So a funny fact about the coffee is if you start... so Yemen is where all the coffee originated. So Yemen still has... coffee farms for over 1,000 years. So they still produce coffee from Yemen. But when you start in Yemen, their coffee is very, very light. It's almost white. And then you move north a little bit, it gets darker. And then you move north a little bit, it gets darker. To the point that you actually get to my city, which is in the middle. Our is literally in the between of the darkest coffee up in North Saudi Arabia and the lightest coffee in Yemen. So the more north you go, the darker the coffee is. So you think about it, if you think about the dark coffee, you think about the Turkish coffee, because that's the darkest coffee you can have. So in Yemen, it's very, very light. It's almost white. But if you go north of Yemen in Saudi Arabia, you enter Saudi Arabia, it gets darker until you reach the Levant area, which is Iraq's area, Jordan. and then Turkey. All these people drink a very, very dark coffee.
Does the darkness of the coffee have something to do with the caffeine amount? Like, is it stronger because it's darker, or?
So if you roast it more, you burn more caffeine out of it. So it gets less. But if you burn it more, if you roast it more, you get it to the point that it tastes bitter. It's because of CO2 released from the beans inside the coffee. So
Interesting.
if you roast the coffee and you heat it popping, it's two things: CO2 released from the beans and the water content inside it. It blows. Yeah.
Interesting. So what is the next item you want to discuss?
So this one is our traditional food, which is called kabsa.
Oh, that's right. This is the meat on rice.
Yeah. So my 5 years old, every time his mom asked him what do you want to eat, he would say kabsa. Like I cook pizza, I cook fancy dishes for him, but if he wants something, he wants kabsa. So this is traditionally this is all cooked in one pot. So you would cook the meat and then until it's almost ready, then you put the rice with it, and then you cover it and you keep it for 20 minutes until the rice actually gains more lengthy, and that's how we eat it. We eat it on one. We put it in one pot and then we eat it on one dish.
So what is the rice? Is it brown or white?
No, it's actually white. It's white basmati rice. But yes, but we put cardamom in it, and we put a cardamom, cinnamon, as you can see, and then we put turmeric. That's why it's yellow.
Interesting. That looks very delicious. I'm so hungry right now. So moving on to the next item.
So this is the war dagger, and it was traditionally used for war, but now you can buy it with the knife inside, but it's not usable. It's just a part of the tradition. So this is more in the south region. If you go north, that curve starts straightening up.
Do you have this?
Yeah.
So you brought it from Saudi Arabia here to Springfield?
I don't have it here, but I actually gifted one manager in the company that I worked for with this one. And that is actually an interesting story because I went away from the company and worked in the same company, but I went away from the department. And then I brought a patient one day, and he was walking from far away. And he saw me, I saw him, and I said, oh, he's far away, he's not going to recognize my face. So I kept going and went to the room, drove off the patient. When I was leaving, he was at the door, and he shook my hand, and he asked me how I'm doing. And I said, good. So that resonated with me. So I called one of my friends, and I said, I want you to make me something look like this. And I want it to be like a very fancy and very good one. And he said, okay. So he made it, and I went it and gifted it to him. And I told him, you showed me respect, and I cannot show you the respect back. This is how we actually do respect. I'm just trying to show you my respect, and he is the dagger. So I explained everything to him, and he said, I'm 73 years old, and I never been gifted such a gift. Yeah, so
it looks very expensive too.
It is. Yeah.
So it is handmade? Like every one of those is handmade?
It's handmade, yeah.
What is it used for? Is it like a design? Is it a belt? Is it a weapon?
Yeah, so nowadays it's just for design. But back then, if they open it, it's actually a knife inside. So they use it, So they use it for war. They use it for like slaughtering animals and cutting meat and stuff like that.
Why is it curved?
So when it curves, you do not have a straight cut. It's actually bringing the whole thing in. So it's better for war.
Yes, it sounds like it. So moving on to is it last item you want to discuss?
Yeah. So two different cups, and I do have this at home with me.
Okay.
So this is for men to drink coffee in, and the second one is for women to drink coffee in.
So this tiny black, or is it dark blue?
It's dark blue, yeah. So usually it goes, if it doesn't have any decoration on it, it's for men. If it like a cute looking one, it's for women. So, yeah.
I mean, the first one looked cute too. It had little red flowers on it.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today,
you.
Zee. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing everything about Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, everything I learned from my travel show yesterday was a lie, so never watching them again. But thank you for sharing your journey.
Absolutely. I just would like to mention that we discussed this, that we have a business here in town. So it's called Arabiana. We won the best entree for 2023. And we are hoping that we're going to reopen next year.
Thanks for tuning into the American Dream Podcast. For more episodes, subscribe on your favorite platform. Keep dreaming and see you next time.